I heard Kate Winslet's talk once about how she broke some record of being able to hold her breath underwater for a movie that she was making, and I thought I'd probably be really good at that, because the amount of times that I've been holding my breath and I didn't even realize I was holding it is a lot. You know those moments where maybe you're in a meeting and somebody looks to you to speak and you're frozen. And when you freeze, the whole body freezes, including the lungs. And so the first breath that you take in is going to be a bit of a gasp. It all sounds very dramatic, but it really isn't. Nobody would even notice from across the room. And that's exactly what makes it really easy to miss for years. And in those moments where you do actually notice it's been happening, it's not a malfunction. It's your body finally getting a chance to be seen. Welcome, my name is Tracy Malone, and this is the Secure Attachment Code podcast. I'm so glad you're here. There are moments where you go to say something honest to someone and you know that it might not be in line with what it is they were hoping to hear. They're the kinds of moments where you might find yourself holding your breath. It might be that pause that you have before hitting send on a loaded email that you know might not be received in the way that you want it to be received. It might be that quiet suspension you have in your body before you answer a really hard question. The common thing across all of these examples is what it is that you're actually doing. You're waiting to find out if you're safe or not, whilst you're waiting for the feedback to see what response you'll get. Freeze is one of the most common responses we have to stress, and it's something we learnt to do very quickly as a child. And it's the breath that you release that you didn't even realize you were holding. Because this podcast is about the breath specifically, please understand it's one of the first things to change when your nervous system senses something matters before your thoughts have even caught up. So your body, once it notices a threat, and it will leave ventral vagal safety, parasympathetic rest and digest, and it will move into sympathetic stress response. As soon as it does, cortisol and adrenaline are pumped to your extremities and your body braces to fight or to flee. Now, when we are unable to fight or flee, our body is trained to do something else. We then freeze, fawn, or dissociate. And during freeze, fawn, and dissociate, that is when our breath is really impacted. Freeze, fawn, dissociate is the third stage of the polyvagal ladder, and it is dorsal vagal state. When we go into freeze, the body is still waiting. Freeze is like the start of dorsal vagal. So we have all this stress and then the body can't expel that stress. And so we go into freeze. And then the breath is held in this moment because the body needs to figure out what to do next. Do I go back into stress and run, literally leave the situation, ghost these people and seem a little bit... and go back to my introverted ways? Do I need to start fawning and making sure everyone else is okay and put my own needs aside? Or do I just completely dissociate and not even remember what's going on here? So that freeze moment is a moment where the breath is impacted the most, where in a microsecond you are reading everything around you, and your body is reading everything around you and making an assessment of what to do next. And often in this moment, you're waiting for somebody else's reaction to tell you that it's safe to exhale. So so in those moments of freeze, you're actually outsourcing your breath, your own breath, to somebody else's face, somebody else's body, and somebody else's nervous system. When they say it's okay, you get to exhale. When we breathe, our diaphragm is actually meant to move down from our ribs. So on our rib cage, we've got our lungs that sit under our ribs, and we've got our diaphragm that sits in the middle of those, just below in the middle of those lungs. And when our lungs expand, our diaphragm also expands downwards. So we are meant to have all this movement in our gut and our stomach that goes, that inflates downwards. Our breath isn't meant to go up into our chest. It's meant to go into our lungs and our diaphragm. Now, if we have years of stress, if we have prolonged hours of sitting, so when we sit down, we lock our fascia from our chest, which is right at the top of right at the bottom of our rib cage, right at our diaphragm there, all the way down to our knees is locked as soon as we sit down. When we go into that stress and dorsal state of freeze so often, we're chronically wiring into our body that the diaphragm doesn't lower when we breathe. And that deep breathing and that diaphragmatic breathing isn't that important. And then the fascia locks up more and the stress becomes more, and the body stays in a state of stress even after your mind has moved on. This is why we wake up in the middle of the night, still clenching our jaw and our shoulders are there, and we wake up and we're not really breathing properly. We're breathing really shallow. And when you've got this chronic linear pattern wired into your body of not breathing deeply, your body starts writing the restriction off as normal. It's not a temporary state for stress anymore. It's just how the body is. Your mind can register, I'm holding my breath, and the body still won't let go on a simple command, because it's a protective pattern that's been wired into your entire bodily system, especially your fascia. It's not a decision that you've made. It's not a conscious decision that you've made. I've spoken about this before on a previous podcast. When I trained in personal training, we were able to use the facilities at a university, and we did a lung capacity test, and my lungs showed the capacity of an athlete. So I knew that in my lungs I had this extraordinary range. Yet, because of my childhood patterns and some trauma things that happened later in life, my body had so much freeze wired into it and linearly and consistently put in there. Freeze, fawn, dissociate became my norm. And so breathing just wasn't available to me. So it doesn't matter what kind of engine you've got. If you don't have the awareness and the ability to release that tension from your body, just focusing on your breath alone is not going to change the automatic response that your body's having at the moment. I had to work at this from within the 4 pillars of the Secure Attachment Code. I had to work with the inner child, who was first taught that freezing was the thing that we needed to do because fight and flight wasn't available to her. I had to work on the ancestral trauma that I was carrying, the pain body that I was carrying in my own body, and breath. That breath of life that wasn't available to some of my ancestors that I carried unconsciously for them. I had to look at the energetics and the amount of people that I was allowing into my field to really elevate the amount of stress that I was holding, and who had control over my energy field. And I needed to work to build tone in my vagus nerve and to release the stress from my body out of my fascia using fascial maneuvers. This work is layered, and I wouldn't say that today I'm 100% stress-free and my body is not carrying anything anymore. We're constantly writing more stress in as we're releasing the stress that we've been holding for years. So we are a consistent work in progress, and I am absolutely one of those too. One thing that's really doable right now is just catching the hold when it's there, and then exhaling on purpose before waiting. So the thing about the freeze response, and we're talking about today, is your exhale, or the next part of your breathing is directly related to the response the other person gets. One thing that is really doable for you now is to control your breathing by becoming aware, if you can, and controlling your next exhale or inhale before they respond. So that's you claiming back the power of your own breath and your own breathing and not leaving it with other people. And it's a really beautiful first step practice. And what goes really perfectly along with the breathing is feel your feet on the ground when you're doing your breath. So as you're taking your power back by looking at your breathing, feel your feet on the ground. Feel the weight of your body in a chair if you're sitting down. And those two things, and those three things, your breath, your feet, and feeling the weight of your body, is a different source of safety besides waiting for somebody else's cue to see if they're okay. And they're going to tell you that you can breathe now. That will interrupt. Now, those three things that I just spoke about, they can interrupt that pattern in the moment, but they don't undo the years of stress your nervous system and your body and your fascia has been trained to hold. And that's exactly the gap that the class Unbrace is built for. It's a free class. It's going to be 30 minutes and we're going to record it live together. So we're going to do some fascial maneuvers so you can have a direct impact on the tension you're holding in your shoulders, in your neck, and in your jaw, and your breathing in one session. It will be live on the 25th of August at 10 a.m. And if you can't make it live, that's okay. There will be a replay for you. You can sign up for that on my website. It is right there at the top. And I hope that you'll join me for that so you can learn some really cool and simple tools that you can start using immediately. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Secure Attachment Code. I hope to see you in the next episode.